Let's be real. The scene where our hero Mark Grayson loves his dad, even after committing planetary atrocities and abusing him, is Invincible's perfect scene because of the full of life animation, the perfect voice performances, and the character writing for Nolan and Mark, leading to such an emotional roller coaster. The first reason why this scene is perfect is because of the full of life animation. As much as I love Invincible, this show is not the most well animated show out there, being real stuff at times. Like, is that a floating PNG? But in this specific scene, the animation is perfect, especially the facial expressions of Nolan, from exuding violent anger to so much remorse. He doesn't have to say a word to express how he feels, because we can absolutely see that it's eating at him. That's how it should be done, showing, not telling, which these couple seconds alone, we can see all of the regret, dread, and horror painted on his face. It's like his face violently transformed and shifted around with every emotion that he felt. It's made more evident after being unable to look at his own son after all of these atrocities. And it's just so perfect, just like everything else in the scene, from the bleak atmosphere to Mark's battered body. Like, how do you stop this feeling of hopelessness? Which, props to the animators for making such perfect visuals for this perfect scene. Moving on to the next reason why this scene is perfect is because of the perfect vocal performances from J.K. Simmons and Steven Yeun. J.K. Simmons is absolutely fantastic and such a scene stealer, especially here where he exudes the anger and dread of Omni-Man. He sounds like he's trying to destroy Mark's soul with his voice alone, like how he was in Whiplash.
Or are you gonna be on my fucking time?
But it's the little mannerisms of Omni-Man's final moments that really sold it for me. Yes, thanks to the great animation, we can see the conflicts within himself, but thanks to J.K. Simmons, we can hear the little grunts, gasps, and little cries. That's the sound of resistance in his own heart, and he absolutely sells that for the character of Omni-Man and sells the impact of the scene as a whole. Now for Steven Yeun, other than the iconic line that he says, he really doesn't get that much to work with, being quite restricted, which is actually a great thing. That's where the best performances come from. And yes, over-the-top performances can be very entertaining, but nuanced performances can provide so much by doing so little. That's what Steven Yeun is doing here, absolutely selling the physical and psychological pain Mark is feeling throughout the scene. Hell, it sounds like he restricted himself, making himself sound like he also got hurt, murmuring from the side of his mouth. This scene has the perfect contrast of vocal performances, from the over-the-top intensity of J.K. Simmons to the nuanced hurt of Steven Yeun. And by the way, shout out to Sandra Oh, especially during that flashback scene. Honestly, her voice exuded such warmth to the audience and to Nolan. It makes it easier for us to understand how she appealed to Nolan. So yeah, overall, the earth-shattering performances from these three actors just make this scene absolutely perfect. Moving on to the third reason why this scene is perfect is because it showcases both Nolan and Mark as characters, leading to such an emotional roller coaster throughout this scene. Starting off with Nolan, he literally tried bashing the humanity out of Mark and himself, from physically abusing Mark to emotionally tampering with him.
Fine! What's 17 more years? I can always start again. Make another kid.
Dude was absolutely brutal, tearing down his own son any way he could to get him to submit and bow down to the Viltrum Empire. We get this sense of hopelessness from the start of this scene, and then suddenly, that flashback commences the emotional roller coaster that will be the scene. It was so distinct because it was so wholesome from the bloody previous scene. Thanks to Debbie, she appealed to Nolan that life's little moments matter. Like appreciating having your wife by your side and appreciate the joy painted on his own son's face as he made a home run. And appreciate holding your son during what is probably his happiest moment of his life. Just appreciate these little things. And considering Nolan's lifespan, his time on Earth was a little thing. Yet, it's those little things that he can't let go, as he can't finish off his own son for the sake of the Viltrum Empire. So Nolan tries one more time, trying to convince Mark and himself to submit to the Viltrum Empire.
What will you have after 500 years?
You, Dad. I still have you.
That line hit him harder than any of those people's bodies hit Mark's body. Because what Debbie said was true. The weight of his world, Viltrum, weighed down on his shoulders and breathed down his neck and caused him and his entire life on Earth to collapse. Yet, for a few moments, Nolan was at war with himself. Logically, this would be the perfect chance to take over. He already burned all his bridges on Earth, so might as well just go through with it. But as long as Mark and Debbie were still alive, his humanity survived as well, no matter how much he'd deny it. He loved being Mark's father. He loved being Debbie's husband. He loved being Nolan Grayson. And he just loved being on Earth. So he couldn't bear to see it burn, especially by the Viltrum Empire. And Nolan felt like he had no other option, so he fled far, far away from Earth, ending the tension-filled nightmare. And with the context of Season 2, this scene hits a lot more for Nolan's character, because this was a transitional point for him, being one of Viltrum's loyal soldiers to a rebel. And it just shows the impact of this scene in particular. While this scene is very focused on Nolan, Mark truly showcased his invincible spirit. No matter how grim this entire ass whooping was, Mark still loved his dad.
You, Dad. I still have you.
Which this specific love stopped Nolan from going further and going ham on the rest of the Earth. This love saved this Earth in the process, because Mark's love for Earth was shared to his father. And with the context of Season 2, this scene hits a lot harder, because the odds for Mark siding with Nolan weren't small. In fact, they were bigger than anyone could imagine. It was actually normal across the multiverse that Mark Grayson was a menace and conquered Earth with his dad, which makes this Earth and this Mark an anomaly, and far more valuable. And as Debbie said in Season 2's finale, she raised the one Mark Grayson who defied his father and defied the Viltrum Empire. And this cements this specific Mark as the hope for this show's entire universe against the Viltrum Empire. And again, shout out to Debbie, man. She taught these two men about humanity. She taught Nolan to treasure the small moments and appreciate the little moments in life. And she taught Mark to love people as they are and not as what they can be. Just absolutely beautiful. We love Debbie here, man. We're Debbie's #1 fan. So yeah, let's be real here. The scene where our hero, Mark Grayson, loves his dad even after committing planetary atrocities and abusing him is Invincible's perfect scene because of the full of life animation, the perfectly balanced voice performances, and the character writing for Nolan, Debbie, and Mark. Just absolute perfection from top to bottom. But it's not as perfect as Omni-Man's voluptuous aura.